I wanted to post a follow-up video with some statements in regards to the post for this event and kind of clarify some things. I'm told by people that meet me in person after seeing like a Facebook post that I'm slightly less boring in person and marginally more comprehensible. So I figured I would create a video and hopefully convey some of that. Quickly disqualify. I'm in no way an academic or have any academic authority to talk about a lot of things. As well as I have no religious authorities to talk about different things in regards to theology and religion. And I'm also a reactionary. So if I try to you know come across as someone who has some sort of a esteemed viewpoint on things, that's really not the case. But the main reason that I wanted to post the video is there's some misconstrued ideas that maybe I'm not relaying when I do a post in text that I wanted to relay. I appreciate everyone's feedback, talking about, oh, it kind of sounds like you're making fun of religion, or maybe sarcasm isn't the best tool, and other tools can kind of relay irony in a more intellectual way and not quite as a divisive way. And then same thing with in regards to like when I give identifiers like white, male, rich, and it's some people see that as just kind of creating more of a divide. So um, I 90% of the interactions I have on a day-to-day basis are with either white, rich males or a combination of those three. And I don't say this to kind of be like the racist friend that says, "Oh, I'm not racist because I interact with blah blah this and this and this." But more as a way that I kind of am getting the sense that sometimes people feel betrayed. They're like, "Hey, you interact with me on a day-to-day basis, and then you post this, video or something making fun of rich white males," and it's not the message I'm trying to relay. The message I'm trying to relay is not that rich white male is bad, but it's more that those are risk factors of the bad thing, which is usually, in my view, is inequality, injustices, oppression. Those are the bad thing. And so if by not talking about risk factors, you're actually doing yourself a disservice. So let's kind of switch inequality, injustices, and oppression as cancer. And if we're talking about cancer, if we don't talk about the risk factors for cancer, you do yourself an injustice and a disservice to really kind of get at the heart of what may be leading or what might make you more prone to cancer. So I'm going to put three glasses here and kind of represent, these glasses could represent rich white male, but in this case we're going to say these are environmental exposures, carcinogens, radon, asbestos, whatever have you. And then right here we have poor diet, exercise, nutrition, and then right here we have lack of access to quality screening processes, healthcare, any of these things that might detect cancer early or treatments after cancer is detected. So that is kind of the way I want to look at the ideas rather than rich white male is bad. No, they're not bad. It's just these are things that can contribute to what is really bad, and that's oppression, inequality, and injustices in society. Um, so I like this analogy because in the real world, when we're talking about cancer, we don't get all offended. We recognize that there are certain things that will make us, and sometimes those things are genetic, as genetic as one's race or one's gender, that make it so that we're more susceptible to cancer, and especially when we're talking about history, that there's a history of cancer. We don't get mad at breast cancer and say, "Oh, why is it so sexist? Why is it, you know, um, just attacking me, because I'm female and or, cervical cancer?" We just realize that these are the material conditions which make it more prone to getting those types of cancer. Um, and so also, another wrong way to look at it is that, some people say, well, if you say that everybody that is exposed to carcinogens is going to get cancer. That's not true, because I know somebody that's exposed to carcinogens, and they didn't get cancer, and it's kind of like the same thing. I know someone who's white and who's not racist, or I know someone who's male and who's not sexist, or I know someone who's rich and who's not classist. Yeah, I mean, those things are going to happen. And reversely, someone will say, I know somebody who who was exposed to carcinogens and didn't get cancer. So it's not saying that all people that are exposed to carcinogens are necessarily going to get cancer. Likewise, all people that aren't exposed to carcinogens aren't going to get cancer. It's just saying that these are higher risk factors. And so if we look at the argument for this, so then we can say that being rich white male, kind of is like, okay, well then we really are the oppressed groups, because as myself, I identify as white and male, and rich is kind of a vague term, but I mean, I have material possessions that I believe are mine or whatever in my head. So um, but anyway, get back to what I'm saying is, you can say, oh well, then we're the oppressed group, and we're the oppressed group, and that's another wrong way to look at it. And the counter argument, for people that always that have privilege, that always want to say that they don't have privilege, is that no, we're not privileged because this group's more privileged because look, things like affirmative action, things like free education, or they'll point out these exceptions, kind of very much the same way someone that says, oh, well, this person was exposed to this carcinogen, they didn't get cancer, or likewise, this person wasn't exposed to this carcinogen and they did get cancer. So that's kind of more or less what I'm trying to relay when I talk about these factors that put people at higher risk. And the more that you can accept risk factors, the more that you can look in eradicating the disease of oppression and inequality and justice. So the proper response for those is, well, actually, the non-proper response is affirmative action. That's reverse racism. Whether or not reverse racism exists, I'll let you read books and decide if you believe it exists or not. But even if it does exist, wouldn't the proper thing to say, instead, oh, let's get rid of affirmative action, rather, I mean, wouldn't it be like, instead of getting rid of affirmative action, why not extend these equally to everybody? And that's kind of the idea of what I'm trying to relay here, is that if people are being exposed to carcinogens, I agree, yeah, we should get them out of environments where there aren't carcinogens. But there has to be an acceptance on the part of those that are exposed to carcinogens, that they are first exposed. Otherwise, you can just say all day long, like, oh, get out of, your environment where you are. They're like, no, these carcinogens don't exist. That's all propaganda to make people that live here, feel that they are going to get cancer or whatever. And that's not really the argument. The argument is that, we have data saying that this does exist. Let's eradicate it, get rid of it. And so as this leads to religious freedom, which was another part that some people had critiqued. Oh, it sounds like you're kind of making fun of Mormons or LDS people. As religious people, we believe a lot of unverified things, and but in society, let's focus more on the verified things. So, for instance, there's this concept of marriage between one man and one woman, and there's also this concept of no respecter of persons, regardless of attraction or sexuality or any of these type of things. So rather than focus on some of the stuff that can't be verified, let's focus on the stuff that can be verified, and you'll actually see society elevate. And so there's also this idea from religious people that their rights are going to take away from my rights. That somehow by giving or extending rights, that this will no longer make my rights valid. But if we look at this as like, so I worked in the operating room and the OR, and I was in kind of sometimes stressful situations. If we look at this as sort of like a trauma, a triage situation where there's someone comes in, there's lots of bleeding. You want to go to where the biggest trauma is first, or the most dangerous trauma is. So if the aorta has a trauma to it, you want to fix that before you start putting band-aids on and whatever. I mean, all my years in operating room, I've never heard a surgeon say, "I need a band-aid stat." You know, it's usually some sort of other thing that we're trying to focus on first. So when religious people are talking about rights and freedom, let's go to like the most oppressed, most where the biggest bleeding's happening, and then we can move from there. Um, so, maybe, and I'll give it to religious people. Maybe gays being able to be married in the temple will take away from your religious freedom, but that's a future cause that's not even maybe in a trauma room this person is going to walk outside and get hit by a car and break their skull and everything like that, but you have to sort of focus on what's actually happening right now. And you know what is happening right now, the real threat to religious freedom is what's going on with the like Apache groups here in Arizona or there in Arizona. What's going on with other oppressed groups. So if we don't address that first, you're never going to know where other oppressions lie, because you have to kind of address the biggest oppression and the biggest injustice and inequality first. So if you are claiming that the sanctity of marriage is one man and one woman on the grounds of religious freedom, while simultaneously not standing up for oppressed groups or not defending LGBTQIA groups or other groups that religious groups that are oppressed, or non-religious groups. I mean, it could be atheists or agnostic. If you're claiming that this is detrimental to religious freedom while you're not fighting or in solidarity with other groups that actually are currently being oppressed, in my view, you're not really fighting for religious freedom at that point. You're just kind of, at that point, just being a punk ass. Um, and that's pretty much kind of where I wanted to go with that. And, um, peace, love, happiness, joy, justice, equality, and all that jazz that goes along with it. And there's my first, you know, Facebook video. Kept it under 15 minutes at least.